Greetings. Today I'm doing a video on the Godox X2T trigger for Panasonic and Olympus. I've been using a Panasonic camera for the past year, becoming familiar with the camera, and I wanted to invest in a trigger for my flash. I already had a Godox flash, so I decided on the X2T trigger, and the price, also the form factor. I hadn't tried this before. So I'll just push this out of the road for the moment. So if I bring in here, I've been using the X Pro trigger from Canon for the past few years. And if you know triggers, I don't have to explain anything. This is not a review. And I'm going to do a bit of a comparison between the build qualities of the plastics, just my thoughts. They both work fine, they're both flash triggers. With the layout of the X2T trigger, I don't need all these groups. So that's one of the benefits I'm finding with this trigger. So between the two triggers, what I'll do, I'll bring the X2T back here. So we have the groups on the top, A through to E. We have our test flash there. We have the hot shoe on top if somebody needs to put another flash on top while they're still using the trigger. I'll just change the direction of this. One of the things I do like is the locking mechanism when you lock it onto the hot shoe. So I'll just take this off so we can see there the lock instead of the old style, which is on the X Pro trigger, the original, and screwing it on with the wheel, loosening it, or there, or tightening it up. We can see there for the Canon, we can see the layout of the pins for the hot shoe. And if I show this one here, hopefully we're in focus, we can see the different layout for the Panasonic and Olympus cameras. So what I'm finding is, for myself, my own opinion, I think the plastic on the X2T trigger is a little bit better, maybe a little bit stronger than the X Pro trigger. So this is, like I said, this is the original one. This is not the Mark II. And I have been using it for a few years. There's nothing wrong with the trigger. And I think the plastics seem to be a little bit stronger. I don't have any other flash triggers to compare it to, but for what it is, I think the build quality is just a little better. We can see there, I just have 3 groups set, so if I turn the wheel, it doesn't go through to all the way through to E. And I'll show that coming up on the video, how I set that. So for build quality, I think they're relatively close, but I do like the X2T. Just a little bit better, just the plastic feels a little bit stronger. So we'll get on to the next part of the video. So my Canon camera has failed here, no longer works. I'm just putting the flash on top. So this is a Canon Godox flash, and I have the X2T trigger for the Panasonic, and they communicate well. I'm just going to go over a few settings that I've used, and also to show the zoom function. I've got a few photos showing this ahead in the video, but just for now I just want to set up a few settings in the trigger here. So I'm just starting to get used to the trigger, setting up how I want to. Now I'm just going to leave it on TTL, it's on slave mode and ETTL, so through the lens. To start with, I want to change where the groups show up. So because I'm just using one flash, I want to change this function. So when we change the wheel here, it rotates from A to E. So I just want them 3 groups here. So I'll go into the menu, and we have group there. So instead of having 5 groups, I just want to switch it over to 3. So I'm going to hit set and scroll it to 3 there, and hit set again, hit menu to go back, and now if I scroll the wheel I don't have to worry about going from A to E with those groups. So next I'll go to the zoom function, because most of the time if I'm filling a umbrella or a softbox I want it on 24mm, but if somebody's using their camera for an event and they want the zoom range out of their flashes. So what I'll do here is I'll just go to the menu again and I'll just scroll through. There's our zoom function here. You can see here it's set to 24mm, so I just want to hit set, and then we should be able to see it change. There we're at 200. And if I rotate past that, it comes back to 24, so we can just continue to rotate that back to 200 and back to 24. So I'll just trigger that so you can see what's happening. So I'll hit menu and you can see the flash there on ETTL. So now I'm going to put it into manual. So we can either choose the group button, A on top, or hit set. So I'll hit set and I'll go to the mode button. So we can see here the TTL, and we can also see it here. If I press mode, we can see the M for manual, and now we can see M for manual on the flash as well. We can also see the power, 128, 1/28. So for my triggers, I set it to 1/3 of a stop. You can put it to 0.1, but I just leave it at 1/3 of a stop. That's how I use it. So now that we're there, if we just want to leave it at 128, we can just either hit A or set, and we can go ahead and use the power settings. But I'll hit A again, and we'll change the power. So we'll go all the way to 1/1. There we are, 1/1. If we set that there, and 1/1. So if we want to go back, choosing our power settings, 1/28, set. Now we're good to use the trigger and the flash. One of the things that I've come across is using a trigger coming from DSLR to mirrorless. In the mirrorless cameras we have the constant preview that's available to us. So for example, we have the ambient light in the room around us here. So what happens is we have the constant preview, but as soon as we put the trigger on the camera we lose that function on the Panasonic. And I've seen it on Sony cameras. So I'll just do an example here as what we see our ambient here. If I just increase the ISO before we have the flash trigger, so if I increase the ISO value we can see how the room's lighting up. So we're setting how our light in the room, how we want it to look before we add our flash. So I'll just turn that back, and then we turn our trigger on and then start to add how much power we want, or using TTL. So that's one of the things I've come across going from DSLR to the mirrorless cameras using the Godox trigger. Also, if you're wanting to know how to sync your trigger to your Godox flash, there's many tutorials on people showing how to do that. It's reasonably simple, even going from a Panasonic trigger to a Canon Godox flash. I didn't have any problems syncing the two with the wireless function there. So that's it for the video. Peace be unto you.